Let me know that you can see me and hear me. Today, we're talking about the 9 qualities of the most successful, multi-passionate, high-achieving, driven women. I'm going to give you guys a chance to hop on. Super excited to be here today. And if you would like to participate in the chat, you can join the Level Up Queens membership to have access to that. Think. Okay, good. I am live and yes, I can hear. Okay. So I did this video, a similar video, recorded one on my other channel, and you guys loved it. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper in talking about these in a live stream. So I'm doing that today here. The first thing I want to talk about is 90% of like the population. So 90% of people do not really resonate with the term driven, high achieving. They don't really see themselves at that as that, or they don't want to see themselves as that, and that's okay. I'm going to share some tips for those people as well. But about 10% of the human population is coded to be really high achieving, driven, successful, like on a whole different level, like visionaries. And then so 5% of them would be women. The only thing is that both of these types have like their gifts and shadows, which is something I've been talking a lot about in my work recently. In the Frequency of Certainty Masterclass, we went deep into that. If you join the Level Up Queens, then both of those parts are available on that YouTube membership as well here. So if you are, in fact, let me know in the chat right now if you don't resonate with driven, if you don't like high achieving, if you don't aspire to be something really big, if you don't want to achieve big goals, if you just want like a small, simple, content life where there isn't a lot of change, where things are very predictable, there's no shame in that. The people like I said, 90% of the population is coded for that. Nothing wrong with that. Let me know. And if you're watching this in the replay, let me know in the comments because the what you need to do is going to be a little bit different. And a lot of my content will probably not resonate with you because I am from that 10%, very driven, very ambitious, want big things in my life, always going to the next level. There's always more to do, be, have. And so all of my YouTube content for the last 14 years, all of my courses, my coaching, everything has been designed from the 10% to the 10%. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't elements of my work that other people can obviously they watch it, they take my courses, they get results, but it's not intended that way. And this is important because you can't judge yourself then if you are not a driven, if you're not a huntress, if you're not high achieving, and you take my courses, your results might look a little bit differently. They might come slower, but you like that anyways, right? Like you don't like change too quickly. So what I don't want you to do is like judge yourself compared to my high achieving clients because they go at the speed of light. Like they're here to be visionaries and leaders and whatever they do, they excel at. And so it is just going to look a little bit different and that's okay. Okay. So when you are not high achieving, not driven, you don't have big dreams, you get your satisfaction in life by having predictable things, consistent things. You don't like change a lot. You don't like rapid transformation. For you, how you will see success as a mother and a wife is doing one thing consistently over the long haul. So these are the women that we see in society that just like being a mom and wife and doing the same thing every day. And they love that. They love having a predictable schedule and a routine. They love like, just having the same kind of life for the rest of their life. These women will struggle with change. So when these are the women that there's a lot of like empty nest syndrome. They don't know what their passion is. They don't know what they're gonna do with themselves now that the kids are grown. Like they have to find something else stable. It's their identity was so tied to that predictable thing, right? If these women work, they're gonna love a predictable 9 to 5 job or like a very simple, predictable business where everything is consistent and they're just happy and content with that. And I love that for them, right? That's their gifts. Their shadows are going to be anytime there's change, anytime there's disruption, anytime there's like lack of predictability, that can feel very jarring for them. Okay. So let's talk about the driven huntress alpha gene type of woman, okay? The type that are like me, okay? For us, we have this mentality in life that no matter what is thrown at us, we will figure it out. Our reward systems, our dopamine, the way it's registered, the way we focus, everything is different. We tend to be very multi-passionate. We love growth. We love movement. We love change. So for us, we don't like doing the same thing over and over again. We get really easily bored if we feel like we have to do this one thing forever, even for very long stretches of time. That's not going to feel good to us. And because that doesn't feel good to us, a lot of times we are fearful of when we look around and we see like the 90% mom or wife, and she does like the same thing every day. Like she wakes up, she cooks and cleans. She does like the predictable thing. We look at her and we're like, oh my God, like I can't do that. Like I would feel so trapped if I had to do the same thing over and over again. Like I like change and growth. I like movement. I like things to be constantly in evolution. When we look at them, we see misery. Even though they're happy and content in doing that, that doesn't work for us. We can play along for a very small time, but eventually we're going to start going crazy. And if we're not aware of this, we might start creating massive amounts of self-sabotage in our life because if we're not getting like our high from like growth in this direction, then we think we can get our high in sabotaging, going into the negative and then coming back up, and then sabotaging and then coming back up. So like I said, both types have cons and pros and gifts and shadows. Self-sabotage is a massive shadow of the huntress, okay? And so we have to watch out for that. One of the gifts for us is that we do come into every situation as like whatever it is, however hard it is, however fast the change is, I will get through this. Like I will figure it out. We tend to be very resilient. Change like doesn't knock us down. In fact, we thrive in it. We get our high from it. And so that's like a really good quality. Now, if you are approaching your business or you're looking at being successful, like to me, success is feeling successful in all areas of life or working towards it. So being successful in my body and in my beliefs and my spirituality, being successful in my marriage, being successful as a parent, being successful in my business, right? I look at a very holistic view of success. A lot of women that are similar to me, what mistake they'll make is they get so much of their like high and aliveness. When I say alive, a high, the 10%, the driven, high achieving huntress women and men, we want to feel alive. Like we love feeling alive. We love challenges. We love creating something new. And so if you're getting that from your business, but you're not at the moment getting that from your relationship, then the mistake you will often make is you will start over optimizing your business because you're getting the high from it and you're getting negative feedback from your relationship. But instead of like investing more time in it, you might be like, well, I'll just like spend more time in my business or my career. And I don't think that that is a good strategy because you're now over optimizing your life for this one thing. And success for women is never any one thing, right? It's going to be holistic. It's going to be feeling successful in all the areas that are the most important to you. Okay. Number two, quality of like high achieving, driven, multi-passionate, badass huntress women. I'm just going to call us huntresses from now on. is we excel at most things because we are just wired for that. We're coded for that. Now, sometimes this can turn into a negative because you have to get used to beginner's level, right? When you move on to the next thing, sometimes there can be so much delta because maybe you're killing it at work. Maybe you're killing it in your business right now. But when it comes to dating or marriage or motherhood or something else, you might be beginner because you're just starting that thing. Here's what I want you to know. You will excel at that, but you need to give it time, right? And when I say time, remember the energetics of time is different for us, for huntresses. I mean, be alive in it. Einstein time. Doesn't mean it's going to take you years. It's that you need to be able to travel that distance fast, like I talked about in my manifest course. Like you need to be able to cover that distance fast, and you like that anyways. You like moving fast. So that's good news. You will excel at all things. You will excel at most things, okay? But you need to be able to give it more oomph, more juice, more of that Einstein time. Justine said, "You're on fire nowadays, enjoying the energy, loving this season's vibe." Thank you, babe. Yes, this I've activated my next era, as I've done many times in my life over 4 years and 14 years on YouTube. This is what we thrive on, right? Another thing that Justine's comment just made me think, the 90% will not like you. They will be really mad at you when you change, when you move into your other era. They like consistency. They don't want you to change. These are the people that will say things like, I liked you better, dot, dot, dot. Or, I liked you 2 years ago. Or why are you like this? You've changed. They are allergic to change. It's very difficult for them. We thrive in change. For us, what it feels like not to change is what it feels like for them to change. And so I have been getting a lot of those comments recently too, right? I get those in every era when I transform and transmute, alchemize into the next era. I liked you better in 2020. They're still in 2020. We're in 2025. But when we have empathy for the fact that they hate change, they feel safe just staying in the same place. We feel safe in movement. Again, goes back to how evolution, how we're wired, right? Then you just ignore it. You just let them stay in 2020 while you're in 2025. It doesn't like it doesn't phase you when you understand their cosmology and how they're coded. Okay. Kabibi said, as a mother, I preferred routine and stability because that's what is best for children. But I recall my mom telling me I do well with change. So, Kabibi, what I'm hearing you say is you created routine and stability for your kids, right? However, if you really zoom in, you probably had growth and change happening inside of you. So here's how I did the same thing. I created routine and stability for my kids while I had my YouTube channel, my blog at first. I had a blog for a year, and then my YouTube channel, and then my personal development stuff to practice my growth. That's why when I did launch my business in 2017, it blew up immediately. So this is not, and you bring up a very important point, and I have in my notes to bring that up in point 5, but let me just do it now. Multi-passionate, driven, high achieving doesn't mean you're all over the place. In fact, if you look at my lifestyle, my life, I have consistency and routine in a lot of places because I don't really care about those things. They're very anchored in. You've probably noticed that I tend to wear similar outfits every day. You'll notice this in a lot of high achievers. What's his name? Mark Zuckerberg does the same thing. What was the Apple guy? I'm blanking on his name. Like you'll see it. This doesn't mean we're all over the place. Is that the things that are most important to us, growth and evolution, that's where we thrive. That's where we get our aliveness, our high from. So everything else we automate. And so growing up, my kids had like a very predictable routine until I started noticing which of my children didn't need that, which of my kids were like me And so then I let them have their kind of their waves. And so that's why understanding this is so important, especially understanding people that are not like us. Yeah. I feel this like this year is very special. It's the wood snake in Chinese here. It means big transformation. I definitely feel it. And we thrive, right? As huntresses, we thrive in rapid transformation. Like we live for that stuff. Habibi said, yep, I have a capsule wardrobe so I don't have to think about that stuff. Yep, I tend to eat similar meals on a daily basis. I have a very much routine in my workout. I don't have I don't change things up there because those things are not that important to me. Like I'm not gonna feel alive from changing my wardrobe all the time or changing my workout routine all the time or changing my diet all the time. Once I get something just dialed in for me, I will automate that thing. But when it comes to alchemy, and rapid transformation in as far as like identity and growth and consciousness and innovation and being a visionary and up leveling my coaching techniques and my mentorship and my content. Ooh, that stuff makes me feel so alive. I just like all of me comes online. As I was talking about in my live stream yesterday on the Million Dollar Babes channel, remember that Clark Kent was the alter ego, not Superman. Superman was the real him. For Wonder Woman, the alter ego wasn't Wonder Woman, it was Diana. She was the alter woman, right? So the real me, the true me, comes online when I am like creating something big. I'm creative. I don't channel that through my wardrobe, but another woman who like fashion is her thing, she comes alive in that, like the Carrie Bradshaws, right? You might see her in like a crazy outfit every day. That makes her feel so good. That's not how I channel it as a huntress. Like I channel it in this, in my work. Okay. Right. Now, when we're talking about the 90%, they don't like change in their relationship. They don't like it, everything is it, they rather feel comfortable staying the same. These are the people that will have the same type of 9 to 5 job for 40, 50 years and then retire happily. We can't do that. In fact, one of my mentors said that we're almost unemployable, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, I've had corporate jobs, but this is what makes me come alive, right? My having my own business, having freedom to change things, to move things. Like this is my art. This is when all of my abilities, my magic, my medicine comes alive. I thrive in changing things here. I thrive with moving the knobs. Yeah. Okay. Number three thing is one of our qualities is that we can see beyond the matrix. The 90%, they thrive in being inside the matrix, not above it, like inside of it, right? They want someone to tell them what to do, exactly how to do it, what time to do it, when to stop doing it. And this is not how they were all the time. This is a genetic adaptation to a lifestyle change really quickly, right? Back in the day, in the hunter-gatherer days, we weren't like that. But 90% of the human population adapted to the farming revolution and the industrial age and the factory stage. So 90% of people actually thrive in like clocking in and clocking out and having rules and being told what to do. These are the people that will ask questions like, just tell me what to do. Okay. How can I be feminine? Just tell me 10 things. And the rest of us, the 10%, we're going to cringe at questions like that because it's like, girl, okay, it's not a set of like 10 things, okay? It's not like that. It's like we want you to use your brain. We want you to like be a visionary. We want you to be creative. They don't want to do that. My One of my mentors is not very nice about what he calls them, and I don't want to say that, but yeah. But I'm sure you've heard similar things, okay? And so they just want to follow what someone else is doing. They just want to take that and follow that. They're going to thrive in like containment on a whole different level. So when you're the 10%, when you're a huntress and you have family members or employees or team members or people you have to interact with on the daily that are in that category, okay? Hi, Journey. It's so nice to see you, gorgeous. They're gonna follow you along if they see you as someone that is like knows things and they look up to you and they're gonna tell you, just tell me what to do. Just how do you like you're gonna have to almost like offer that containment to them, even though you don't want them to be that way. You want them to think for themselves. You want them to be creative. But they've really been coded and then conditioned on top of it to just follow instructions. Yeah. So us, the 10%, we see beyond the matrix. Like we can follow along. Like when I was in school, like I could see that a lot of things being taught to me were ridiculous, but you had to follow along. I can follow along, I can pretend, but I'm aware of what I'm doing. It's not like when we're told it has to be done that way, just shut up and follow the rules. We know it doesn't have to be done that way. We know that the rules are arbitrary. Now, if we could choose to play along for the moment, but that doesn't mean we're not calling out the bullshit, right? Versus the other type, right? Like the 90%, which again, when some of my mentors don't have the nicest terms for that. I think it's rude to use that term, but they're often called, I'll just say it. I apologize, but I'll just say it. Like a lot of my mentors call them the sheep. They're the sheep. They're followers. They just want to be told what to do and how to do it. That doesn't make sense to us because we're not like that. And so when we are working with people like that, they want us to be the shepherd. They want us to like guide them. So instead of trying to get them to understand where we're at, you kind of just have to shepherd it. Like just empathize, understand, and shepherd. Because that's the best you can do to really start collaborating with each other versus like, why are you being annoying? Why do you want me to like tell you what to do? Can't you think for yourself? They don't want to think for themselves. Of course they can. They don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, I don't subscribe to the herd mentality either. The term is rude. Yeah. That's what like I've heard that. I'm not gonna use it. But I just wanted to kind of tell you that's how people will see you. And so, but we have to have understanding to be able to work together. For number quality of like high achieving, driven, huntress genome women and men as well is because I've mostly talk to women. You can't talk suddenly. Is that they always desire more and better, more and better, more and better. Now, the 90% will look at you. We need to come up with a more loving term. Someone help me come up with something better. They'll look at you and they'll say, why can't you just be content? Why can't you just be happy? You have so much. You have achieved so much. Why do you need to write another book? Why do you need that other achievement? Why do you need to now do this? Why do you need to lose the last 5 pounds? Like you already are fit. We just do. Because we are wired and coded for more is better. More is better. More is better. More and better. More and better. And they're not. And that's okay. So you're going to have to learn to be okay with those kind of comments and those projections. They are just different, right? They're just different. And that's okay. You trying to be like them, you trying to say, well, maybe there is something wrong with me, which is one of our shadows, by the way, because there's less of us and more of them. And because a lot of times in society, instead of understanding us, we just get labeled with things, with disorders, like, oh, you have ADHD, you have ADD. Like, people with our genome are very high likely to get like labeled in some kind of a disorder that was created by them to tame us down and make us more like them, but that's not how we're wired. Now, obviously, if we are not functional, maybe our tendencies, our coding is in hyperactivity where we're like disruptive, yeah, then maybe we need to take medications and all of that stuff, right? Like we might need that temporarily. However, we're being told that we're wrong, we're bad, we're not supposed to be like that. We're not supposed to want more. We're supposed to be content. You're a mom and a wife, like why do you need a business? You're a mom and a wife, like why do you need to work? You're a mom and a wife, like why are you starting this thing? Why do you have this hobby? And so we start internalizing that shame that we're receiving, and we start thinking, oh my God, is there something wrong with me? Because every time I look around, most people are like that, because that's 90%. And some experts actually guesstimate that there's even less of us left now, especially because a lot of us are being medicated to act like them. And so there's like less and less of the genome left. And so when we look around and everyone's like doing the same thing every day, they're very content in that. They don't really want more and better. They just want to do the same thing and they want to be told what to do. We think something's wrong with us. And what then happens, as I talked about in the Frequency of Certainty Masterclass, is that the shamed self comes up. And then we start spiraling out of control, thinking something's wrong with us. We start having self-doubt. We start thinking maybe I'm just a masculine woman, or maybe like I'm just uncontent. Maybe I just need more gratitude. Okay. Gratitude is different, but for both of us, the 90%, they get the gratitude in like doing the same thing and being content in that. We have gratitude for what we achieved, and we get gratitude when we keep moving, when we get the next thing. Yeah. So we are the yes and people. Yes, I like that. The masses. Yes, maybe that makes sense. The farmers. Yes, I use that in the frequency of masterclass, um, in the frequency of certainty masterclass, because that's the term that some of my mentors use from in like the evolution work. More and better. This is so me. They think I'm in place or at the end, and I just feel I'm not even at the beginning in my head. Yeah, Justine, I feel like I haven't even started yet. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, you are like at the peak of your success. I'm like, girl, no, that's like practice. Okay. Of course, I acknowledge all of my achievements. I love that I've created so much already. But girl, that was practice. Okay. And you get that because that's just how we think. That's just how we are. They label us as outliers and build the system around the medium. Yes. Yes. Yes, nailing it. Okay, that's it. So if you actually study all of the greats of the world, like historically, they're not even alive now, or the ones that are alive right now, they all have that genome. They all have our genome, meaning that they had one of two of those variants. And instead of spiraling out of control, looking at everyone, they could see beyond the matrix and be like, oh, we're just different. And they use their gifts to become the, Einsteins, the Jeff Bezos, the Oprahs, the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, the Priyanka Chopras, the Elon Musks. All, if you look at all of the patent holders, the IP, like the people at the top of the top, the 1% within the 1%, they all have this genome. And if you get caught up in the matrix of, is there something wrong with me? Should I just be happy and content like everyone around me? Those are generally the people, like the way this shows up is either you become the next like complete visionary and people will be talking about you generations after you're dead. Like we talk about Einstein and all the greats before us. Or you will see that most of the jails, the drug rehab centers, the alcohol rehab places, they're full of people with our genome. Because those of us that aren't able to own our gifts fall prey to the shadow. And the shadows, they're bad. They're strong. They're strong, right? Like one of the shadows of like the 90% is that they're just like a lot of them waste their time. They're not going to ever like get off the couch and like they're not going to amount to something. Okay, that's the shadow. The price, like it's like, they say low risk, low reward. For us, it's like either we're going to be the next Oprah and Elon Musk, or we're going to be a freaking drug addict, right? Or we're going to be like, like a lot of men that are into porn and sex addicts. And a lot of them are also really high income producers. It's like, what's going on here? And so we need to, like, those people, if they need to be medicated and all that stuff, like, yeah, go for it. Like, don't destroy your life. But what I don't want you to do is start looking around you and seeing either the options are like being mediocre and like being unhappy, because that's not what you're designed to do, or you have to numb that part with unhealthy addictions. We have a very addictive personality. And actually, I have that on my list, I think. No. Okay. So no, I do at 8. So I'll actually touch on that when we get to 8. Number 5 is we tend to be multi-passionate. So the 90% of people that are the norm, the masses, I love Kabibi, I love that. The masses, they are best when they just study like one thing or learn one thing, or they're like specialists, right? They go like in on one thing and like that's their mastery. That's what they're like really good at. We can't do that, and we don't thrive in that, and that's not what makes us visionaries. So there is a wonderful book that I highly recommend if you want to learn more about how we thrive in mastery, and the book is called Range. So for us, we are multi-passionates. We get our mastery from studying many different topics. Now, this does not mean you're like all over the place and scattered, right? In my other live stream on Million Dollar Babes, I talked about how I jumped from topic to topic after mastering it. And then what happens in that is you end up creating like I've created niches that didn't exist until I showed up. I combined many different topics to create a whole new niche that didn't exist. In fact, a very large, like one of the things I learned from my YouTube mentor was, instead of niching down, what I ended up doing, and I wasn't even aware of this, it was pointed out to me. I ended up creating entire new niches on YouTube that are now big niches with like high monthly searches. No one was searching for those words. No one knew these disciplines existed until I combined multiple things that I had studied to create a new discipline. The interesting thing is, even the people in the evolutionary like science fields weren't talking about these merged disciplines until I started talking about them on YouTube, because I combined multiple different things that had never been done that way. Only a visionary person that's studying multiple things can do that. This does not mean you're jumping so quickly that you don't have mastery in anything, but it does mean that you might study something for like an intense moment of time. In Einstein time, we learn very quickly, by the way. We don't need 10,000 hours to learn something like the masses do. We have different types of we're wired differently. They placed both types under MRIs, and what they found was we multi-think. Multiple areas of our brain lights up when we're thinking versus only one area when the masses are thinking. So they see things in a very linear way. So when the masses read a book, they're reading a book. They're just listening to the words on the page. When we read a book, there's so many different areas of our brain lighting up that we are not only just reading the words on the page, we're applying that to all of our life experiences, all of our mastery from before, all of the things that we've studied. And there is this entire multiverse created in our head of things that had never been thought of or created before. From all of that. This is why when people ask me, tell me your best book on this topic, and I tell them the book, and they'll go read the book, and they're like, well, they don't get the same thing, or they're like, well, what you were saying wasn't in the book. Well, if you are the 90% that only reads the black and white, like words on the page, you're not going to understand what I took from that book. Because when I read that same book, so many of areas of my brain lit up. And the way that I applied those things to 44 years of experience and mastery in multiple disciplines, there's no way that another person, even another person like me, would get the same thing because they're going to apply the same book to their however number of years on the planet and how that interacts with their brain and their experience. And they will create a whole multiverse that's different than mine. My mind weaves together so many topics as I continue learning new things. Yep. So for them, if they learn at the pace that we're learning, they're going to be so overwhelmed because they're not creating that multiverse of new disciplines and new ways of thinking and embodiment. It's for them, it's just information. And unless that information tells them exactly the 4 steps to follow, that they can follow consistently, and they decide to follow that consistently, they're not going to get what we get out of it. So true. Everything I learn, I think how I can apply this to improve my life. And you'll take the right things, you'll know what to throw away. You'll by the time you read the book, there's a whole nother multiverse that's been created from that. Okay? So that's why we don't just want we don't have that kind of mastery. In fact, the guy who wrote, I believe his name is David Epstein. I might be blanking out on it. The guy who wrote the book Range, he also studied extensively elite athletes, the top 1% within the top 1%. And those people weren't the people that like, say things like, I was playing the piano since I was 2. They're not those people. Because mastery for us comes from doing a whole host of different things. Number 6 is we tend to, and you're going to have to really learn to work with this, you're going to doubt yourself if all of the information that you're consuming is coming from the masses. Girl, that stuff was not created for you. If you saw how closely I guard my mind, okay, you would think like I could give the Secret Service advice, okay? And yeah, that's how strongly I guard my mind. And I bet you that if we looked at the schedules and the like how like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg's and how like they're probably the same way, I can guarantee it. Because I cannot be taking advice that's made by, or like made by huntresses, but made for the masses. Like that's just gonna create doubt in you. It's gonna bring up the shame to self. If it catches you on a low day, if it catches you on a bad day, that's when if you're being honest, tell me right now in the chat or in the comments, how many times this has happened to you that you were having a bad moment, you were having a bad day, maybe you didn't sleep well, okay? Maybe you didn't eat right, you haven't been eating well. And then you start watching content that was not created for huntresses, and then you started having doubt. Be honest, right? Like you're like, oh my God, am I doing something wrong? Maybe I'm supposed to be going slow. Should I just be content? Am I a bad mom because like I want more? Who has done this? That's what happens when you start consuming content that was not made for you. Just this week, Tessa said, I guard my brain. So like seriously, like the Secret Service could take notes from me. Cause I'm like, that's not for me. That's not for me. That's not for me. And I don't even do that thing anymore. I used to do this, calling myself out, where I used to say, you know what? I know that's made for everyone else, made for the masses, but like I'm pretty smart. Like I can just watch it and I'll just take a little bit from it. Girl, no, I don't do that anymore. I do not do that anymore because I've learned now that the price of that, it's too high. Because I will take a little bit, but there's like this thing underneath happening, underneath my conscious awareness, where it's starting to create a little bit of doubt. And I'm like, no, it might not hit me right away, but it might hit me in a week or 2 weeks when it compounds. And so now I do not consume any content from anyone, paid or free, that does not have the hunter's genome and there's an and here, and is also making content for the hunter's genome. They're not trying to shepherd the other people. They're actually speaking to us. And there's a third and they have the same personal values as me. Those are my 3 criteria. So I have a very small list of people I can follow. Because if any 3 of those things are not aligned, because here's the thing, people like us with the hunter's genome, we can be the shepherd, but we can also be the wolf. And so if their personal values are not aligned to mine, I don't need to be following that. I don't need to be taking that on and messing with my consciousness. So true. I feel like closing my container down to only consuming you in relation to content is what always keeps me upon true alignment. Thank you, Katrina. I appreciate that. And here's the thing, babe. I so appreciate that. That means a lot to me. There are creators like us that have similar values than us, but when we're constantly consuming content from everyone, our frequency standard is low. We're not seeing those people. So in my life, what happened was when I got really tight in my frequency standard, like I'm like, you have to match that 3 criteria. If I'm going to follow, you could be male or female. However, hunter's genome plus making content for people with the hunter's genome plus personal values. I could even watch people that have those 3 criteria, but they're still in their trauma. Like I can be above that. I can see that and I can get magic out of it. That's fine. But if any of those 3 criteria are not met, I'm going to have to guard my brain. And what happened, babe, is when I was like, not my, like I raised my frequency standard. All of a sudden it seemed like I had less opportunity of who I could learn with, but my life 10x, because then more similar people like those started showing up that match my personal values, or my own like deepening of the people I could learn from went deep, like it 10x, because it's not like I'm taking 10 steps back and like, and then going backwards again because those other people are messing with my head. So guard your life. And here's how to tell. Anytime you watch someone's content, even if it's mine, if you watch someone's content and you start going into something's wrong with me, I'm doing something wrong, stop, okay? Because this is a big shadow for us. The shamed self comes up and we start massively self-sabotaging our results. So even if it's my content, stop watching it. Take a break, go away for a while. This is how I gauge it, that if I'm watching someone's content and they feel expansive and they're like liberating me and I feel like, oh yes, like I'm like in alignment to how God created me, I can now think for myself and I'm like plugged into the God field. I'm in the 99 realm. Perfect. But if I'm watching someone and they're telling me it can only be done this way, and I have to follow these 4 steps, and anything else is you're doing it all wrong, and something's wrong with you if you want more, just be grateful for the little bit that you have. That's getting into, I'm going to have to stop watching that. Are they wrong or bad? Nope. It's not for me. I'm not their target audience. I'm not their target audience, and that's okay. I need to be the one that's aware of something was created for me or not. They're not responsible for that. I'm responsible for that. That's so real. Consuming the wrong content can literally pull you back and slow you down. Yes, and yes. That has happened to me so many times. It happens to my clients. It happens to my friends that have the same kind of genome as us. We have a big shadow with feeling like something's wrong with us because we look around and everyone's not like us. And if you are not surrounded by a large community of women that are like you, that's why I have places of like the 99% realm. That's why I have level of queens. That's why I have kainat, because it's not just for them. It's for me too. It's kind of like for the highest good of all. Because when I'm constantly surrounded by people that are like me, they don't even have to be at my level. It doesn't matter the level, it has to matter the consciousness. Like in Kainat, we have people in there that are lawyers, doctors, neuroscientists. We have women in there making multiple millions a year. We have women in there like just crushing it. We have women that are just starting out. We have women that are in college. But we have one thing in common that's very strong. We have the huntress genome and a very growth mindset. And we have these things, this list that I'm giving you. We'll never be the women that are sitting there saying, why can't you just be happy with this? They're not the women that want to be told what to do. They want to be women that like think for themselves. They're above the matrix. And I need to be around those women as well because if I'm always coaching the masses, I'm going to start losing myself. I'm going to have to water down my message. And I get it. Some hunters and huntresses shepherd the masses. I don't come alive from that. I don't want to shepherd the masses. I want to lead and walk shoulder to shoulder with the next level visionaries. That's what I want to do. And for the people that need me to shepherd them, I've got my books, I've got my digital courses, right? And that's awesome. I'm so glad to be of service. But the thing that makes me come alive, and again, we need that feeling of coming alive. That's what gives us our juice. That's what gives us, it feels like just, I don't know what drugs feel like because I've never done drugs, but I imagine it feels like how I feel in my business every day and how I feel in my life every day. I imagine because I feel addicted to just living and life and walking shoulder to shoulder with the next level visionaries. So that's where I focus my attention and my energy and my marketing. Every year it gets even more like rock solid. Right now, believe it or not, okay, 2024, I spent shrinking my YouTube channel, meaning I purposely made content that was directly even more dialed into the huntress, and everyone that wasn't that started falling away, right? Unless they still wanted to learn. A lot of them unsubscribe. I'm doing the same thing with my email list right now. We are purposely shrinking our email list. We're getting rid of the people that are not the ideal clients because every time you get rid of the people who are not going to make you come alive, who are going to make you second guess your life or your messaging or whatever, oh my God, your life will 10x. It will compound because we are not the masses. The masses follow us, they look up to us, but we are not the masses. Do you think that Elon Musk and Oprah and Beyonce are sitting around consuming masses content? Do you really think that? No, no, they guard their minds, okay? They're visionaries. Alma said I joined 99 Realm yesterday and loving it. I'm so glad to hear that, gorgeous. Yes, that's 99 Realm and Kainat and like these containers where we have these visionary conversations where we can be ourselves, where the content is not made for the masses. I live for that. The dark feminine course, oh my God, I'm not the same person that I was a few days ago, even. Questions that I asked you last week seems dumb now, LOL. I finally plugged into Source and it gives me chills. That's it. Right? That's in the 99 realm as well, by the way. Um, the dark feminine course is in there. That's what I'm talking about. So the thing with here's why, and nothing wrong with this. Look, listen, if you like shepherding the masses, I think you are doing God's work. Especially if you have a good heart and you're not a wolf, you're a shepherd, like you want to help these people, you have the biggest heart and I love you. I have been given a different role. Okay. I am meant to walk shoulder to shoulder with the people that are shepherding everyone else. So I'm like walking shoulder to shoulder with the next level visionaries, the next level leaders. And what my clients and my students desire from me, the ones that are that energetic match, is not to be told what to do. That's not what I get paid millions of dollars to do, is to tell people what to do. The reason I make what I make and the reputation that I have and the testimonials that I have, okay, the results that I have is because I plug people back into their truth. their DNA, their coding, so that they can do the thing that God designed them to do. Because we've all been assigned something that we're supposed to be doing. It's our mission on this planet. But if you are stuck creating content for people that are not you're stuck in that loop of doubting yourself, of feeling behind because you're watching the wrong people, or feeling like you're too much. You're supposed to just be happy and content. Then you're you're gonna feel lost. And so this is why even your questions last week, I don't even spend time answering. Like, here's another thing I want to say. Actually, maybe I was gonna say this later. Before, let me say this. There's Q&As, there's coaching, and then there's mentorship. These are three different things. And then there's two different like levels of even questions. Okay. The masses ask questions because for two reasons. One, either they're not really asking you a question, they're just in their victimhood and they just want to like pretend like they're asking you a question, but really they just want to tell you that they're a victim. My empathies and sympathies. Okay. Nothing that you say is really going to land because you cannot solve an emotional problem with logic. You just can't. Okay. So they're all up in their emotions and they're asking you a question. It's actually, they're telling you how they're a victim disguised as a question. There's nothing you can say that will land. It just won't, because you're in your logic. It's not going to land. So in that scenario, either choose not to answer or just give them sympathy. They just like sympathy. Just say something like, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Or I'm so sorry that happened to you. Just your advice isn't going to land. You're speaking two different languages. Okay. So that's question number one that they ask, the masses. Question number two that they ask is, tell me what to do and exactly how to do it, and tell me how many hours a day should I spend doing it. Let me know if you've heard this before. Okay. Tell me exactly what to do, how to do it, and how many hours a day should I spend doing it. In that case, if you want to shepherd, answer the question. Okay. What you're going to try to do, which is what I used to try to do, it won't land. Okay. Is I would try to say, it's not about the number of hours, or it's not really about like the steps, right? Like I try and explain something to them that they do not, it's like they're not coded for that information, Mina. But if you were watching, you'd get something out of it. So it still was useful. It would miss that person, but the people that were watching me, when I would do these kind of live streams live, and my questions would be open to the public, is I would still answer it that way because I thought that was the most useful thing. It wasn't useful to the person asking, but it was useful to you. Because you know what it's about. You know it's not about the number of hours or how you do it, right? It's about the calibration. It's about the mindset shift. It's about the belief shift, the identity shift. So you still got something out of it. That person was probably like, why? Like, she's gatekeeping. Why can't she just tell me what outfit I need to wear, what I need to be eating, and how many hours to be more feminine? But we know that that's not how it works, right? So that's what you're going to have to be aware of. Coaching, and again, very different. Coaching is where I'm getting to ask you questions, and then working with what the answers you're giving me. And even that, let me tell you that right now, we're going to talk about this in the Conscious Couture Coach. I'm adding a new 4-hour intensive to that on March 12th. For those of you guys that have it, join me. All of my previous students that are in there are welcome to join for the live stream. And then if you buy it now, you also will get it. But we're going to talk about that when you're coaching the masses, you coach differently than when you're coaching us. It's very different. It's very different. In fact, you're going to offend people like us if you try to coach us like you would coach the masses. And again, depending on how you're using what I'm saying. Maybe what I'm saying, you're like, oh my God, I need to talk differently with this relative than that relative, or I need to talk to differently than to this child rather than this child. Like, you're already taking this information and applying it in all the places. That's just how we work. You're not really listening to just the words that are coming out of my mouth. You're calibrating to my belief systems, and you're probably creating a whole multiverse in your brain right now. You know it. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay. So you're going to have to coach differently. Mentorship is typically, I would be surprised to hear, I haven't met someone that wouldn't fall in this category. Okay. Mentorship is typically for us, because mentorship, you're not telling anyone you're not telling anyone what to do. You're not even coaching them. You are just calibrating them to your energy, your belief systems, your embodiment. And even the questions that people will ask will be so different. When I'm in Kainat, I can tell, all the women are in there are huntresses. I can tell whether they want me to coach them or mentor them by the way they phrase their question. And I'm going to be teaching you all of this in the Conscious Couture Coach, because there's very subtle things that you can note. So, what point was this? We just went on a whole thing, but here, okay. So next one, let me know if this is resonating with you guys. Tessa said, oh my God, Mina, your words are giving me shivers, and I want to be there next to you to make our lovely planet better. Yes, yes. We are literally responsible for doing that, because remember, everyone else just follows what we're doing. Everyone else just follows. So this is going to be a very vulnerable share, and I'm sure the wrong people are going to take this and tear it apart. But let me just say it, okay? Let me just say it, because a lot of you will get a lot out of it. So I went through this thing in my whole life, and you're going to resonate with this if you're a huntress. When you are a huntress, you are so used to people stealing your ideas and stealing even your identity, stealing everything from you. You are just used to it. I have had this whole thing playing out in my life, and I didn't know that this was a gift at that time. So it kept showing up, because remember, God wants you to be the healed version, the most healed version of leadership. A lot of people, even with the huntress genes and hunter genes, they're still leading from their trauma. But we know that as open-hearted, kind, empathetic mothers, wives, sisters, women, teachers, leaders, healers, we want to be the most healed version of ourselves. So this kept coming up. And I got to a point where I'm like, Mina, this is so freaking annoying, right? I'm like, what? Because I've had people steal my entire homes, like in my 20s, like everything, my ideas. And this is before I was on YouTube or anything, my whole life, right? People would literally take my ideas and make them their own. And I went through this really interesting journey. First, it would trigger me, but I didn't say anything. And then I went into fawning, where it would trigger me, but then I would like let them just believe it was their idea anyways. I would like spiritually like bypass the whole thing. Then when I started doing my inner work, I was like, why does this keep showing up in your field, Mina? You need to work on this, okay? And then it happened on like a global kind of mass thing, right? Like I have registered and trademarked things that people have no problem just taking all the time, right? And then I went in deeper. I was like, okay, Mina, like there's gotta be a gift in this. There's something here for you. And I prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and I journaled about it. Okay. The answer that came back blew my mind. Kabibi said, sister, I can relate to this. Yep. Doesn't matter if you're in the workplace, people will steal your ideas and make them your own. Then finally, God decided that he was going to speak to me and give me the answer directly. And it freaking blew my mind. The answer I got was, you are getting these ideas so that people can steal them. You have been given this power that whatever you wear, whatever you eat, whatever you say gets mass infected. That means that you have the ability to control the narrative. You have the ability to infect people with things. Create ideas that are worth stealing and then make it so they steal it. And I was like, oh my God. I went back and I'm like, this is why religious organizations have messaged me. People that I thought would be triggered by my work because I curse and I'm not the good little girl that does the good little thing. I'm kind of wild, right? I'm a rebel. They've messaged me over the years saying you are doing God's work. I've had Hindu temples message me. I've had Jewish organizations message me. I have had churches message me saying you're doing the Lord's work. And they said it's because you are now teaching biblical concepts from the Bible, from the Quran, from the Torah to people that religion lost, to people that religion missed, because you're doing it in the language that they can understand. And when this answer came to me, I'm like, oh my God, create ideas that people will steal and then help people through it. So, in case you haven't noticed, I infected the world a couple years ago with this belief that you should not be sleeping around before marriage. Something that the Bible and the Quran and the Torah, like all these religious books, have been saying for thousands of years that the new generations were missing. I purposely created something and then put it in view for people to steal. Then, when that took off, I'm like, okay, next thing. What else do I want people to steal from me? I and the idea came that parenting, having babies, like kind-hearted, good-hearted, conscious people are being infected by this lie that parenting is hard. Like people are literally ending their bloodlines. This huntress genome, this kind genome, this good-hearted genome, the spiritual genome will die off. So I said, okay, what else do I want people to steal from me? And then I started talking about how I do motherhood. I started posting on how motherhood is my 10x, how motherhood, started talking about mamta energy a couple years ago. And all of a sudden, people started stealing that idea. So, this thing that I kept thinking was a curse, why does everyone steal something from me? I realized that, of course, people steal stuff from us. The visionaries are the trendsetters. They write the narrative and everyone else follows that, right? Yes, I've said it before, your work brought me back to God. I did proper PR for God, different from religion. That was another one. I um, infected the world with my beliefs of God and how I view God and how God speaks to me. Some people were massively triggered, and some people came back to God. So now, instead of saying, I have this thing, I hope no one steals it, I'm like, what can I create that people will steal from me? Doesn't matter if they give credit or not, because people like us eventually come back to me anyways. And so I'm telling you on a spiritual level, but I'm also grounded on the 3D. So let me tell you profit wise how this helps, because there's always two sides of the coin, right? Half for God, half for me. God gets half, I get half, and we both grow. So what happened is people who were taking these ideas and then inspecting the world, well, the huntresses watching that content could sense that that was not their stuff. The rest of the people, they're like, yes, yes, right, whatever. It's still helping them. Half for God. Now, the people that were like, that doesn't seem like the original source. I can energetically feel it. They would come find me. And then, even though those people did the marketing for me, guess who had the courses and the books and the coaching courses and the mentorships to go with that embodiment? Me. So I'm now taking ideas instead of saying, this is my idea, don't steal it. Like everyone's been stealing my whole life. I'm like, here's my idea. It's my idea. I'm hiding it. No one take it. Okay, they took it. Let them do it. Create a whole niche, create a course and a coaching container around it. Let everyone go and help people with it. The huntresses will be like, no, no, I don't think that's yours. They'll come find me. And now we're talking about the human plane. They're gonna say, oh, definitely was Mina's idea. She's got a course around it. She wrote a freaking book on it. She's got registered frameworks around this, found the source. So this is how you have to like start thinking with your genome when you are the huntress. We are here to spearhead the way. Yup. Instead of being in your small-mindedness, because that can happen, we can get infected with the grid. Create something worth stealing. Pretend to be holding it close. People want, if you're ever like, I was talking, where was I sharing this? In 99 Realm. I shared the example that you can do this as an experiment. I just shared this with my 99 Realm ladies. I have a call, so sorry, I'm watching the time, but yeah, we're good. If you're walking on, I don't know, choose any street in your favorite city, and you are doing this, you're just standing there. Let's imagine that this is something very special and you're just standing there looking at it on this busy street. It's not going to be very long before someone will come and start looking at what you're looking at. They're just going to start looking at it. They're going to be very curious. You don't even have to have a thing. You could just stand there looking up top. And everyone around you will be like, what is she looking at? What's over there? Versus if I take the same thing, same street, same people, and I'm like, hey, I have a lighted candle right here. It's so good. Does anyone want it? Look at my candle. Look at my flame. Does anyone want my flame right here? Flame. Look at my flame. The same people will be like, is she high? What? Like, I don't want to look at your flame. Flame, get away from me, right? They'll be crossing the street if they're walking with their kids. And so create something beautiful and just hold it and love it and enjoy it. And then people will come try to steal it, right? And then now you've infected the masses with your open-hearted, your kind-hearted, your God source ideas that will actually help people. And here's the thing, in my culture, we believe in barakat. So when something, it doesn't matter who told the thing. If you were the original creator of it, you're gonna get barakat for it. I taught you guys this in my barakat course, right? So, and then God will lead the people back to you. Okay. So don't be doubting yourself. Don't worry about who's taking what. Like, just focus on what God decided to do. Number 7, don't fall into, is there something wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. Let me just tell you that right now. Louder for the people in the back. There is nothing wrong with you. You are coded through millions of years of genetic history to be a visionary and a leader in the top 1% within the top 1%. Most people were like you back in the day, 90% adapted out of it. You still have the genome. There's nothing wrong with you. Harness your gifts and minimize the shadows. Okay. Number 8, we naturally have a obsessive personality type. This is why people with our genome are more likely to be addicts, drug addicts, alcohol addicts, shopping addicts, sex addicts, you name it. It's just, it goes with the genome. In fact, that's why a lot of this research came forth way later. In the positive stuff, the negative stuff came first, because remember that the way things are studied, if someone needs to make billions of dollars, that's why they're going to invest money. And so it was the pharmaceutical companies, unfortunately, that started, and or like the smoking industry and the alcohol industry that started studying this stuff before, saying, how can we get people addicted more, or how can we create a medicine for something? And so obviously those people were only talking about the negative aspects because that's what they can control and capitalize on. But here's the thing, right? The same genome that can give you a negative addiction can give you a positive addiction. So knowing that I have an obsessive personality, that I tend to get addicted to stuff, I get addicted to positive things. I'm addicted to God. I'm addicted to family. I'm addicted to learning. I'm addicted to growth. I'm addicted to my clients getting results. I'm addicted to growing my expertise even more. I'm addicted to expanding beyond my comfort zone and the depths of my what's like my capacity. That also makes sense about why there's so many psychopaths in prison as there are who are CEOs. Yep. You can channel this positively or negatively. You have an equal chance. The thing is that the negative tends to have more control because there's whole industries banking on this genome of yours and manipulating it. So I'm here to completely here steal my idea or don't, right? Here's what I'm here to infect. I'm full transparency. There is nothing wrong with you. I'm going to say it again. There is nothing wrong with you. You have been coded to be a leader, a visionary, an innovator. You are not supposed to fit into the masses. Okay, so we're gonna stop that shit now. Okay, next one. Oops. Number 9. Another quality that we have, beautiful quality, is that we do not need to be motivated. We are self-motivated. However, we can get easily locked into self-sabotage when we start looking at the masses and judging ourselves, like I said a million times in this live stream. Hi, Yashika, is it? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yashika. Welcome, babe, to Level Up Queens. So you motivation content is typically made for the masses. They need to be motivated all the time. And we don't need to be motivated. If anything, we're over motivated. Like we're always doing the things, but we can start going into this spiral of doubting ourselves, of thinking there's something wrong with me, right? Like there's like, so gaining back ownership of your DNA, knowing that this is a gift, it's not a curse, and then moving with that in mind, right? And like protecting our where we focus our energy. I'm just gonna check the time of my meeting. I just want to make sure I'm not late. Okay, I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna open it up to questions. Sometimes, okay, another thing I want to say. Sometimes things require coaching and I can't answer a question because it's actually a coaching question and I need more information that I can't get from you in this forum. So in that case, when I can't answer the question because it's actually coaching, not a question, then I'm going to invite you into my paid offers where I can actually coach you, because that is the best way I can serve you. But if you're someone that just needs to be told what to do, my work isn't even for you at the end of the day. So I'm just making that really clear, because sometimes people just want like the 3-step thing, and that's not what my work is about. It's really about up-leveling your consciousness and outgrowing most questions anyways. All right, so questions: how to deal with disrespect in marriage. So this is a coaching question. Why? Because depending on your state, what you could be perceiving as disrespect might not be disrespect. And so I would need more information on that. So right now, I'm currently the cart is almost, the enrollment's almost about to end. On Valentine's Day in 2 days, we start Wifed 2025. It's a group coaching container. I will invite you in there. A lot of times when people ask questions like that and I coach them, we figure out they're in a dysregulated nervous system state and they're actually not being disrespected. They're just disrespected. They're just receiving it that way. Sometimes people are being disrespected and they're not even realizing they are. So I need coaching. I need to be able to coach you. This is not the best way to answer that question. What else is coming up for you guys? I'm going to go back and see what you're saying. You inspire me to be fearless as a mom and show people I enjoy motherhood. Yes. Please don't get caught up in the, like, a lot of people are also addicted to suffering, right? And so they show everything as miserable. And that has nothing to do with you. In fact, as a multi-passionate visionary huntress woman, you already have like so many amazing, beautiful things in your life. You're gonna have a completely different experience of motherhood and wifehood anyways. Mina, how to balance being independent and also receive from men, not having an ego of being independent, and at the same time now downplaying myself. So this isn't a balance, it's a state, it's a consciousness. So tell me more why those things are not, because to me, it's just a state. Like I'm independent and I get to receive. I'm don't have to upplay myself, but I'm also not downplaying myself. I'm just showing up in a whole place, right? Like as a whole woman. Sometimes when we're asking like balance questions, something in our mind and our core beliefs has been taught to believe it's either or. It's either this or that. And it's this is just like a consciousness level. So tell me more. Katharina said, "You're too obsessive has definitely made me doubt myself before." Yeah, because most people are not like us, right? But having had the right community over the years like us has made me able to receive it as a compliment. Yeah, it's like because I'm obsessive, I'm more obsessed with my clients' results than they are. I'm more obsessed with my clients' ascension than they even are. Wouldn't you want someone like that? Or you want someone that's kind of like, we'll see, right? So there certain people want people like us and certain people don't, and both is okay, right? So it's definitely a gift. What I don't want is for you to start seeing a lot of your gifts as like as negatives because they're not. Yes, I have a coworker who is trying to get be pregnant because she said she finds so beautiful how happy I look with my babies. It makes me so happy. I love that, Mariana. That's so good to hear. You inspire me to be fearless as a mom and show people I enjoy. Yes, 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 yes. Let me see what else you said. I want so much abundance in my life, but yet I'm so attracted to minimalist content. I go back and forth. I'm getting your advice and choosing what to plug my field into. So, Mariana, there's a reason that you're attracted to that. I went through a whole season of my life where I was not only addicted to minimalist content. Whatever I do it with obsession. That's just who I am. And then I started making minimalist content. That was a very important part of my journey because top 1% people, they need to minimize many areas of their life. That's why like look at the billionaires of the world, right? In order to be creatives and have a rich life in certain areas, they do automate a lot of other things. So that was a very important part of my journey. It's not like it didn't mean it's like for example, to this day I consider myself a minimalist. Yes, I live in a mansion. Yes, I have a whole designer collection of clothes and shoes and all the things, right? And I'm a minimalist because the way that I function, in fact, I think the correct word would be an essentialist, where it's like I go all in the most important things to me and I minimize everything else. So I think that there is a journey of that if you're enjoying that content. But honestly, Mina, these late conversations have helped me so much to bounce back quicker and keep going harder. Yeah, that's what you're designed to do. You're a bullet train. You are a rocket. You're not meant to go at a horse and buggy carriage. Disrespect to me can look like a man being very self-centered and not caring for my feelings and comfort. So that doesn't necessarily mean disrespect. It could also mean, let me just tell you all the things. It could mean disrespect. It could also mean that you don't know how to communicate with men, just being bluntly honest. It could also mean that he feels like he's not being heard and seen, which is making him compete with you. So this that now can you see why this is a coaching question? That's why being in my container where I can actually see what inner work you need, what your belief systems are. That's why I'm not a big fan of like everything is disrespectful from a man. All men are bad. That's for the masses. We don't do that here. We have a lot of nuance. We understand that our states create our reality. And so to me, when someone is acting self-centered, they might be protecting themselves because of the way your energy is showing up. It could be so many things, right? And so moving with like intelligence, emotional intelligence is key. Now, if someone else heard this, they're like, how dare he ditch him? But what if you just need some micro tweaks in your energy, in your belief systems? What if you actually need coaching and we don't need to ditch him or divorce him or whatever the thing is? The thing with the level at what we're playing here is that everything comes with a lot of emotional intelligence. A lot of people can't hold the level of emotional intelligence that we're holding. A lot of people just want, girl, he's crap, just dump him. That's what they want. There's a level of inner child consciousness there, right? Like they want those kind of answers. I don't do that. So you have to decide if you just need someone to talk shit about men with you, find someone like that. If that's what you desire, I'm not going to be that person. If your guy is a piece of shit, I'll be the first one to tell you after I've properly coached you to see what's actually going on. Because when we are dysregulated, we twist reality. We perceive things as they are not. And in the Western culture, it's all about just we just anything other than just agreeing with the person in front of us is seen as gaslighting. But that's not emotionally intelligent. Yeah. So I don't do that. That's not a part of my work. True simplicity in some areas in life is giving more space for growth and development. Yep. Kristen said there are a lot of women who get upset when you suggest they learn how men communicate. Yeah. Or just communication and emotional intelligence in general. I get very curious if I'm seeing someone as disrespectful about myself and them. What's really happening? Because a lot of things that people judge as like disrespectful or he's being a narcissist or whatever the thing is just a personal state that we're in. That's why asking people, the wrong people, like asking people that are in their trauma for advice, they'll ruin your relationship without like they won't tell you the truth. They're always gonna bash men versus just saying, hey, let's like be curious about what's actually happening right now. Let's resource you. Let's get really curious about your dynamic. You'll see how I coach this in Wifed. You'll see it in Kainat. I never will coach someone without first seeing what state they're in because there are certain states that are actually uncoachable at the moment. I have to resource them first because in their reality, what they're perceiving to be true is so distorted that anything I say again will be speaking different languages. She said, makes sense. Thank you. You're so welcome. Because, like, here's the thing in my life, there have been points where when I was setting boundaries, I was told that I was being disrespectful. Am I disrespectful for saying, I don't want to give you money anymore? You're an adult. Is that disrespectful? It is from their perspective because they're mad that I stopped giving them money or I stopped being on the phone with them for 4 hours every day while they bitched and complained about the same shit they were bitching and complaining about 2 years ago, right? They told everyone that I was a bitch and I was very disrespectful. Am I? I don't know. I don't care, right? So sometimes you have to be really curious of what's actually going on. Being an essentialist is such the perfect definition that it inspired a whole lot of content around design, space, and energy. Can I quote you and use this term, Mina? Thanks for the inspiration. Absolutely, it's not my term. There's an entire book written on it. So if you're gonna use it, you can say you heard it from me, but there's a book on it, or you can quote the original author. There's a whole book on it. He differentiates himself from minimalism into that because a lot of people, again, the masses read minimalism and they say, well, tell me exactly the number of things I need to have and where should I place them in my house, right? That's what they do. We receive that information as a calibration portal. So I consider a minimalist, and I've had people say, you are not a minimalist. I said, why? Well, you live in a mansion. I'm like, and you have this number of things. You can't have over 100 number of things. I'm like, okay, thank you for letting me know how you function. Thank you for that essential information. So they don't know how to calibrate, they just follow rules. You attract who you are. We see people one way, but they're showing us a part of ourselves that needs to be paid attention to. That's so real. I apologize for the typos. I'm learning to type with longer nails. Oh, no problem. I can't wait to see your longer nails. You have to show me in one of our group live streams. I have a love-hate relationship with long nails too. I like the way they look, but then I feel like it slows me down when I'm like typing. So I'm like, oh, I tend to like go back and forth between them. All right, ladies, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had so much fun. For those of you guys watching the replay, let me know your key takeaways in the comments. And I will see you guys in 99 Realm, Wived, Conscious Couture Coach, Kainat, of course, my heart, my soul. And I love you so much. Bye.